Philip Shaw joins us now, and Philip is a certified financial planner with Goldstone Financial. Philip, how are you today? Oh, I got to hit the button. Can I just tell you, Philip, here's what's happening to me. I am trying to finish up my Christmas shopping, and I keep ordering this thing for my niece online, and they're like, okay, the order's coming, and then I get these alerts saying it's out of stock. So on the way home today, I'm going to go to 4 different Target stores and pick up 4 different things for the same person. So Merry Christmas to one and all. All right.
I tell you what, the same thing happened to me this week. So I'm with you. I'm with you.
I know. I think more people than not can relate to this. It was so much better when I was a little kid because you just woke up and opened up Christmas presents. No pressure. This adulting stuff is kind of hard, Philip.
It was magical as a child. No appreciation for the work.
And I'll tell you, exactly, we've come a long way because I did have a piggy bank when I was a kid, and there was something very, very exciting about saving money and putting it in my little pink piggy bank, and now I cannot save money at all. I am not very good at it.
Well, we'll talk about it today. Speaking of which, thanks for having me. Absolutely.
I appreciate you coming on with us today. Money is not really my specialty. I don't invest it well. Maybe I should get a financial planner, someone like Philip Shaw. So somebody who is not well versed. I was talking to Terry Savage, and basically she was saying it's just if we don't know about it, we're uncomfortable because I hear numbers and I start freaking out. But it doesn't have to be that scary, correct?
It really doesn't, but here's the thing, is that's common for most people. If they don't have an understanding of it, they don't feel comfortable talking about it, and a lot of people just bury their heads in the sand, if you will, and ignore issues. And it's a lot easier to actually just have a conversation or admit that you don't know something, especially when it comes to your money. There's things we're all good at. I have this conversation every day when I'm talking with clients at the firm is, this is something that I do every day, so I'm very comfortable talking about it. We understand that's not the same case for everybody.
And, people talk about retirement and people talk about saving for a rainy day and people talk about, you got to save for your kids. If you've missed all the aforementioned times to start saving, is it ever too late to start?
I tell you the same thing I tell anybody. The best time to start saving or the best time to start planning was a long time ago. The next best time is right now.
And is there a certain formula for how much people should be saving?
So it comes down to where you're at in life. As a benchmark, my encouragement is, make sure first and foremost you're putting into, say, your employer's 401k. If you're working for a company and they're willing to match a contribution for you, that's free money. So whether that's, 3%, 5%, whatever that number is, that's got to be kind of the starting point of what are we saving towards something like retirement. Because it's a 100% return immediately, day one. It's free money. And make sure that that's growing for you for the long term. But then a lot of this comes down to how you're doing specifically in your life. I have, at my age, lots of friends having children, right? All of a sudden, their priorities switch. All of a sudden, they go from being able to save, hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars a month into, savings towards their house, towards their retirement. And there's periods of time that it goes towards the kids.
Yeah, with the 401k, I remembered when I started in radio many, many years ago, I was pretty young, and it's like, you don't want to think about retirement. But I jumped on that, and I'm telling you, if you don't have it, you're not going to spend it. And if it comes out of your paycheck, it's going to save for you. It's really a no-brainer on that one.
I couldn't agree with you more, because I think putting it out of sight, out of mind, and letting it grow, best thing you can do for yourself. Now, that said, make sure it is invested. I know a lot of people that wake up, look at their 401k 10 years later and find out they never invested it.
Yeah, that might be a problem with me as well. So
We should talk.
yes. And all right. So first of all, we're going to take a quick break. Then we're going to come back and talk about the Fed rate cuts and things that we have to look forward to or not look forward to in 2024. And then how do people reach you, just in case they've just tuned in? What's the best place to reach you at, Philip?
So best place to reach us is website. So goldstonefinancialgroup.com is going to be the easiest way to find us. Has all of our information, my information, phone number, all that sort of thing. It's goldstonefinancialgroup.com.
Perfect. All right. We are going to take a break and then continue with certified financial planner with Goldstone Financial Group, Philip Shaw. But right now we're going to check the markets and the weather with Bob Kessler. Wendy Snyder sitting in for John Williams, and we're heading into the weekend. John will be back in 2024. I almost forgot what year we were heading into. We have on the line with us right now Philip Shaw, certified financial planner with Goldstone Financial Group. And Philip, let's talk about 2024. How many times did the Fed do a rate hike this past year, in our current year? It's quite a few times.
Yeah, the Fed raised rates almost every opportunity this year, minus a couple over the summer and this latest one where they held the rates steady. And, this question of the Fed raising rates, this is an issue that affects almost everybody in their day-to-day life. It affects the rates at which we can get new credit cards. I've heard a statistic lately that the average interest rate on a credit card now is as high as 27%, which is insane. It affects the rate we can get a mortgage. It affects if we want to move or if we're able to. It affects our companies, affects our stock market. This is going to be a big issue for us going into 2024.
And what do you see happening in 2024?
Well, thankfully, the Fed has actually been pretty vocal and telegraphing what they're planning on doing. So through 2023, the Fed had said, hey, we're going to keep raising interest rates until we can get inflation in check. Now, thankfully, inflation just came down to 3.1, all the way down from 9%. Their goals in the 2 range, right? Numbers. What does that mean to us? It means next year what they're planning on doing is they're planning on starting to lower those rates again. Now, whether that's in March, which is as early as some experts are saying we could see it, could be over the summer. The Fed's not going to make that decision until they see the data that comes through in the next 3 to 6 months. But what it does mean for all of us is as the Fed starts lowering interest rates, a lot more things become attractive. There's going to be people that get better mortgages, opportunities to refinance, et cetera, et cetera.
We all figure out how to live with what's going on. When we purchased our house like 25 years ago, I'm telling you, our interest rate was definitely double digits. It was like 12 or 14%. And we had great credit. It's just that's what the rates were. And then they came down so low, then they went up again, and now they're coming down. I mean, somehow we figure out how to deal with it, right?
You know what? We always have. We've always figured out how to deal with it. My folks tell me the same thing. Is when they bought their first house, they had a 16% interest rate. And I say, yep, you sure did, but you also had a 16% CD at the bank or a money market.
Yeah, that's true.
So it depends on what else you have available. I do think the low interest rates we've had for the last decade have made a lot of houses more expensive than they would have been otherwise. And it's been an issue for people. I know a lot of people that are, what would you call it, trapped in their current house because if they move and they need to get a new mortgage, the rate's, considerably higher than what they're used to paying. They can't afford the difference.
Yeah. All right. So you're talking about people who are trapped in their houses. There are people, gas prices have come down, but still I haven't seen prices in the grocery store come down very much. So, have we avoided the R word, the recession? Are we out of the woods for getting into a recession? What are your thoughts on this, Philip?
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing around the inflation is when the Fed talks about inflation coming down, they do mean going forward. I would be surprised if we saw the prices come all the way back to what we were seeing in 2021 and 2022. But to your question, the recession at Goldstone, we don't see a recession looming in 2024. We feel that the Fed has done a pretty good job of negotiating and navigating the interest rate environment. How high have they raised rates? And the encouraging part for us is we're still seeing very, very high employment, a lot of job openings, a lot of strong spending. We do think we've avoided the recession, but we'll never know until it actually comes around. We almost had one in 2022, but didn't meet the technical specifications that they assign a recession.
Well, I know that I can't remember when the big recession was happening. Do you recall the year offhand? Things were tough. Like in the 80s, maybe?
Are you talking 2008 or are you talking 2020, 2001? Yeah.
Yeah, but I just remember, I can't believe how expensive eggs are. I can't believe how expensive ketchup is. These are just little everyday things that you never really paid attention to before. And now you really have to budget like, maybe I shouldn't use as much ketchup or I should buy the double giant Heinz things. I mean, do prices come back down? Because I don't recall ever paying this much for stuff before. I know the prices fluctuate with gas because I got gas for $2.99 the other day. Granted, I used my Mariano's points, but $2.99 a gallon, that was crazy.
I would be surprised if we saw prices come back down to where they were. Now, what we might start to see again is we might start to see the 2-for-1 deals. We might start to see a little bit of price reduction, but not as much as we've seen, in the inflation number. It's not going to get back to where it was, unfortunately.
All right. Well, are there some ways? Go ahead.
I was going to say, that said, there's things we can do to protect ourselves.
Give us
while we've had this high inflation, we've also had the opportunity to take advantage of higher, things like higher savings rates at the bank and in fixed investments. At Goldstone, we're looking at this stuff all the time. Is we're taking every opportunity we can that as long as we have these higher rates, we're also seeing things like a high yield savings account as high as 5%. We're seeing money markets and CDs over 5%. So while we're paying higher rates on things at the grocery store, we're paying more because of inflation. One of the best things we can do to protect ourselves is make sure our savings is continuing to grow.
And here's the question of all questions for you, Philip. How do people listening right now save money if they don't have extra right now because groceries are more and because gas is more? I mean, what's the saying? You can't squeeze blood from a turnip or whatever. I'm probably so off on that colloquialism. But, I mean, if you just don't have money to spare, how are you supposed to save it? That's where a good financial planner will come in. I'll tell you that.
I was going to say, the best thing you can do for yourself is have a plan around your finances. And if you are tight on the monthly budget, I highly encourage sit down, look over what exactly are you spending. You'd be surprised sometimes what you'd find you spend money on that maybe you're not even using. Things like old gym memberships or extra subscriptions to streaming services. There are things that we can usually cut back on to be able to open up a little bit extra for the savings. But the biggest thing you should do, it's really a few items, right? The first is have a plan for how you're going to handle the finances and write it down. Put it somewhere that you can see it in your house. The second one, find somebody that can keep you accountable to what you want to accomplish, whether that's a financial advisor, financial planner like myself, whether that's a friend, family member, trusted colleague, somebody that you trust that can keep you accountable to it. And then don't feel like you are stuck. If it becomes too tight or if things, you get a promotion at work or a job change, feel free to adjust. You can always adjust up the savings, down the savings, make sure it's working for your life.
That's true. I mean, some people are rigid about, okay, I have this plan in effect, but it can be changed. Nothing's forever, as we're starting to learn in life, right, Philip?
Yep. You got it.
All right. I'm wishing you a very wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas, if that's what you celebrate. And so you did have some issues with ordering stuff online, and then you go to pick it up and it's not there? Because I'm telling you, everyone is having this. I'm getting a lot of texts about that.
You know what? It was the delayed shipping.
Oh, that kills.
Delayed shipping.
I think
I'll get it before the new year, but not before Christmas.
Well, that's when you wrap up a very special big package with a little Post-it inside that says, good for one gift on the way.
That's what my father did. He put rocks in the bottom.
Oh, that's a good one. All right, well, have a great holiday season, and thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Wendy.
Philip Shaw, Certified Financial Planner with Goldstone Financial Group. The Wintrust Business Lunch will continue, and news coming up next here on 720 WGN.